The first time I truly believed I might not survive the night, it wasn't because of the snowstorm outside, it was because of the silence between us. The mountain road had disappeared beneath fresh snow, our phones had lost signal hours earlier, and the tiny wooden cabin we had rented for a weekend escape stood alone in a forest that seemed to swallow every sound. Then, just as darkness settled over the mountains, the old heater coughed one last time before dying completely. The freezing air crept into every corner of the room, and my best friend looked at me with exhausted eyes before quietly saying that there was only one way to stay warm. In that single moment, years of friendship, hidden feelings, fear, regret, and hope collided in a way neither of us had ever expected. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and heartfelt stories can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so you never miss another emotional journey. Emma and I had been best friends for nearly 10 years. We met during our first semester of college when we accidentally reached for the same library book. From that awkward moment grew a friendship built on laughter, late-night coffee runs, shared dreams, and countless moments when one of us carried the other through difficult times. Everyone around us assumed we were secretly dating, but life always seemed to interrupt whatever feelings quietly existed beneath the surface. She dated other people. I convinced myself to do the same. We celebrated each other's victories and comforted each other through heartbreaks, always pretending friendship was enough. The cabin trip had been my idea after a difficult year for both of us. Emma had recently lost her grandmother, the woman who had practically raised her, while I had spent months recovering from losing my job and questioning everything about my future. We didn't need luxury or adventure. We simply wanted peace, fresh mountain air, and a weekend away from the noise of the world. Instead, nature had different plans. By late afternoon, heavy snow buried the roads, the electricity flickered constantly, and the temperature dropped lower than either of us expected. When the heater finally stopped working, panic slowly settled in. We searched every cabinet, every closet, and every drawer for supplies. There were a few extra blankets, some candles, a fireplace with only a handful of logs, and emergency matches. We burned every piece of firewood carefully, hoping someone would arrive in the morning. Hours passed, and the fire shrank into glowing embers. The cabin became colder with every passing minute. Our breath turned into clouds inside the room, and even wrapped in every blanket we could find, our hands refused to stop shaking. Eventually, survival became more important than embarrassment. Emma looked at the narrow bed and then at me with tired eyes filled not with romance but with trust. She quietly admitted she couldn't stop shivering and was afraid to fall asleep alone because she had heard stories about hypothermia. We crawled beneath every blanket we owned back to back at first, both pretending this was simply another practical decision in an impossible situation. But the cold was relentless. As the night grew darker, instinct slowly replaced hesitation. We moved closer simply because our bodies needed warmth to keep going. Neither of us slept much that night. Instead, we talked softly while the wind howled outside like a living creature. We remembered college memories, embarrassing mistakes, family traditions, and dreams we had quietly abandoned. Somewhere between those conversations, something inside both of us changed. Without distractions, without phones, without work, and without the endless rush of daily life, we finally admitted how lonely we had both become. We confessed how often we had almost told each other the truth over the years but always convinced ourselves that risking our friendship was too dangerous. As dawn approached, the storm outside became even worse. Snow had completely buried the cabin door. We spent hours digging ourselves out using an old shovel we found behind the porch. Every movement drained our remaining energy. My gloves became soaked and I could barely feel my fingers. Emma insisted on helping even though she was exhausted. At one point I slipped on hidden ice and twisted my ankle badly enough that I couldn't stand. Without hesitation, she wrapped my arm around her shoulders and slowly helped me back inside despite being much smaller than I was. Watching her struggle through the snow just to keep me safe reminded me that real love isn't measured by grand gestures. It's revealed in the quiet moments when someone refuses to leave your side. By afternoon, we heard the distant sound of an engine fighting through the snow. A rescue truck finally reached the cabin after local authorities reopened part of the mountain road. The relief on our faces quickly turned into laughter, the kind that comes only after surviving something terrifying together. As we drove back toward civilization, I looked out the frosted window and realized the mountain hadn't simply tested our endurance. It had stripped away every excuse we had ever hidden behind. The weeks that followed felt different. We no longer danced around our feelings or pretended they didn't exist. There wasn't one dramatic confession or perfect movie moment. Instead, love quietly grew from the friendship that had already survived nearly everything life could throw at us. We continued supporting each other's dreams, celebrating small victories, and carrying one another through difficult days. This time, however, we stopped pretending we were only friends. We chose honesty over fear, even knowing that love always involves risk. Looking back now, people often ask when our relationship truly began. They assume it happened during that freezing night in the cabin with only one bed. But the truth is, our story started years earlier with every act of kindness, every sacrifice, every shared laugh, and every moment we chose each other without expecting anything in return. The cabin simply forced us to see what had been quietly growing all along. If this story touched your heart, please support Kindness Corner by liking this video, sharing it with someone who believes in second chances, subscribing for more emotional stories, and letting us know your thoughts below. Special request: before the story ends, please leave a comment answering this question. Do you believe true love can grow from years of genuine friendship, or is it better left untouched? Sometimes life doesn't reveal the people who matter most during sunny afternoons or perfect vacations. Sometimes it waits for the coldest night, the darkest storm, and the hardest challenge before showing us that the greatest source of warmth has never been a heater, a fireplace, or even a cabin. It has always been the heart of the person who refuses to let us face the freezing darkness alone. And in a world that often feels colder every day, that kind of love remains the rarest shelter any of us could ever hope to find.